This morning on BRN, voluntary API guidelines to improve data integration. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Tim Rouse is the Executive Director of the Spark Institute, and Joseph Burt is the President of Pension Plan Specialists. Tim, always great to see you. Joe, great to meet you. Thanks to both of you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's really great to see you, Tim. And there's so much going on in the retirement industry. I know we had you on recently with Joe McCabe about a very important succession survey. Today we're going to be talking about APIs, but I want to take a step back, talk a little bit about the TPA committee for Spark, because TPAs play a very important role in the retirement business.
They absolutely do. And I want to thank Joe Burt for his leadership on the TPA committee. They connect the connective tissue to thousands of plans across the country, and so they're a very important segment of our market.
Yeah, and Joe, I mean, I just want to give a shout out to all those TPAs out there. Tim made a mention. I mean, TPAs are a vital part. I started as a TPA many moons ago when I had hair, but there are many plans that I still don't have any hair, but look, it is what it is. But in all seriousness, TPAs play a vital role in the administration and record keeping of many of America's 401k and other retirement programs.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you saying that. And I'm sorry that we scared you off. It seems as though we've chased you right out of here. But
I loved it. It's a great business.
Happy to welcome you back anytime you want to join us. No, for sure. We're really excited about the industry where we're at right now with the market as TPAs and the partnerships that we have. And I think people are starting to come around that the moniker TPA being a third party, we're not always that third party. We sometimes play a more important role than just the third person in the back seat. So we're excited that people are starting to see more and more of our value.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim, I mean, we're going to talk about APIs, application programming interfaces. I had to look this up because candidly, I'm a tech guy, but I'm not that tech. Let's talk about this guideline. Why is this initiative, the API guideline, different from past Spark initiatives that many of our audience members will know and many of your members know?
Well, you're probably more technical than I am, Jeff, but
I got on Zoom, Tim. I got on Zoom.
Yes. Well, this is the first time that we've collaborated across multiple firms and between TPAs and record keepers to develop a voluntary standard specifically for API-based data exchanges. So rather than focusing on file formats alone, this guideline embraces modern integration methods and addresses not just data structure, but security, workflow, systems compatibility.
Yeah, and these, just to kind of tee it up, Tim, Spark has famously created a template for RFPs, for the 403 marketplace with thing changes. So this is analogous to that, but these APIs form a very important role in transmitting data.
Absolutely, Jeff. One of Spark's primary functions is to help facilitate the efficient flow and operations of the retirement system, whether that's between TPAs and record keepers, between payroll providers and record keepers, between plan sponsors and record keepers. Whatever we can do to streamline that process and to standardize it helps the industry overall.
Yeah, and before I go to Joe, Tim, are these guidelines the end-all, be-all? Are they completely enforceable?
No, Spark does not enforce mandates. These are voluntary best practices designed to foster interoperability, cooperation. Each firm remains free to implement the guidelines in the way that fits their technical environment, while contributing to greater consistency across the industry.
Joe, I mean, cooperation is, I think, an important part of the retirement industry. We have cooperated since inception of many of these types of retirement plans. Let me start off with asking some basic questions here. Why did the committee and Spark decide to start with census data, indicative data, participant data?
Well, it's a good question. It's really the easiest place to start, quite frankly, because it's really the start of all of the processes that we go through: compliance testing, administration, reconciliation of participant accounts. All of that data needed to complete those tasks is in the census, whether it be, participant eligibility, payroll information that we need on a per payroll basis, contributions that are made, deferral amounts. All of those things are in that census file. All of that indicative data is critical for us to be successful in our role as CPAs.
Yeah, and they kick off, as you said, date of birth. I mean, that's when you know to do RMDs. If someone has a term date and a term status, you know to kick out in paperwork, or maybe no longer paperwork, but certain PDF document, et cetera. Let me ask you, in terms of these guidelines, what role, Joe, did the TPAs themselves play in this role? Because people could say, hey, TPAs typically are smaller enterprises. These are big record keepers, big corporations, entities. They're going to tell you what to do, but that's not the case here. The TPAs had a big role.
The word partnership is the first thing that comes to mind in this industry. Is we all are very good partners. We always have been, whether it be record keepers or other partner vendors within the organization or within the industry. This wasn't a 800-pound gorilla that we had to tackle. It was really more of us just all on the playground having a good time and coming up with some really neat ways of doing business together that really help us to be far more efficient than we've ever been able to do in the past, while at the same time being very careful with data. One of the things that APIs does really well is it helps us to protect the integration or protect the integrity of the data and to protect it from bad actors as we exchange it back and forth. So right now, I would say that utilizing an API is probably one of the safest ways for us to move this data back and forth. And with that comes the byproduct of efficiency. And it's a significant byproduct. Our ability to do things differently, quicker, more efficiently, and safer are all of the reasons we came together as partners to do this.
Yeah, and Tim said the guidelines are not enforceable, but let me ask you, Joe, how much adoption do you expect? I mean, your record keeper partners, your TPA partners, all the different parts of the retirement ecosystem. Are you expecting a large, what percentage of adoption are you expecting?
Well, I mean, I would love to see, 100%,
100%, right?
right? But
99.9999%.
right, let's go with that. But I think what we'll see is, the word's getting out. There's a lot of questions, a lot of interest. I think our record keeper partners, we've had a tremendous participation on our committee. They've been really, really good at helping us to identify blind spots as CPAs, but we've also been able to point out some of the blind spots that they might have had. So I think we'll see a pretty substantial adoption in the next 24 months. Spinning up an API is not something you can do just overnight, but I think it is something that in the next 24 months, you're going to see significant adoption. I know the TPA community is really, really excited about it. I know our record keeper partners are excited. And I know there's some other vendors in the industry that are excited about it as they start to embrace AI and additional technologies that exist. They're going to want to use a standard so they don't have to build something different for everyone.
Yeah, and Tim, I mean, data is, we've talked about it on the show numerous times. Data is everything in the retirement industry. Not all data, but specific pieces of data. What should vendors, plan sponsors, what should they expect as to when to see the result of all this work? Because it can't be easy building an API. It couldn't be easy arriving at a consensus, but when can they expect to see the results of the fruits of the TPA committee's labor?
None of this type of change happens overnight, Jeff, but as Joe just pointed out, the cooperation between Joe's TPA members and the record keepers, I think, was outstanding. And both sides have vested interest in seeing efficiencies in the communications between these two groups. So I'm confident that we'll start to see the adoption of this pick up very quickly, and those results will trickle down to the plan sponsor.
And Joe, you mentioned that some record keepers have their own APIs, and as we've talked about, this is a suggestion, not a mandate. But why would you want to follow the Spark guideline, API guideline? Why would you want to if you're a record keeper? I know partnership, we all want to go along, get along, it makes things easier, but why would I think about using the Spark general API versus my own?
Well, we put a lot of thought into it, and it wasn't just unilateral. So it wasn't just TPA saying, "Hey, this is what we want." As I said, we had some really terrific participation by really key partners, key record keeper partners, and other vendors in the industry. We all came together and worked through this. We shared a lot of ideas, implemented everything that we could to make it as easy to adopt as possible. But the key here is that this industry is going to grow, and it's going to grow in a way that we've never seen before. I think we've all talked about. I know you've covered this quite a bit. Um, the faster this industry grows, the more plans that come online, the more efficient we're all going to need to be. The APIs that exist with record keepers and other vendors in the industry right now, they're great. However, building an industry standard that everyone can use and build against not only makes it quicker for us all to come to market with something, not only does it make it far more efficient for us to do that, but now it's less complicated. We don't have to worry about do we do this over here, but over here we got to do this. That's where mistakes get made and inefficiencies exist. So if we all work off of this standard, not only can we create greater efficiencies, more security, but we also have the ability to do a lot more, to scale together a lot quicker than we've ever been able to do in the past.
What advice, Joe, do you have for those thinking about implementing the guidelines? I mean, where do you start? It's a big nut to crack. You mentioned that some record keepers have their own API. So what advice do you give to someone who's, maybe an IT manager or a business lead, running a business, running a record keeping business or a TPA business? Where do I start?
Well, first thing I would do is I would say, don't do what I did, which was I thought I could just eat that entire elephant all in one bite and just
Yeah.
took it on head on. Um, I started doing this in 2017, 2018. I really started working on this because I had spent a lot of my own money trying to figure out how to build an API and spent a lot of time trying to convince record keepers and other partners to utilize the APIs that we were building, which is sort of where the genesis for this standard. What I would say to those folks is start small, reach out to somebody who's working in this area, whether it be a record keeper, myself, another TPA that you want to talk to. It behooves all of us to work together to help each other. I'd hate to see somebody else go out there and spend as much money as I have trying to figure this out. I learned the hard way. But fortunately, we've got some great partners who have really jumped in here and coached us along the way and helped us come up with something we can be really proud of.
And in terms of the TPA committee, I mean, this is, you said, you don't want to bite up, the whole elephant. You want to eat it in bites.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. I mean, an elephant's a pretty big animal, one of the biggest. And has a lifespan, by the way, similar to a human, like 75 years, I think. Anyway, that's for our longevity show that we'll do next time, Tim. But anyway, what's next for the TPA committee? I mean, you're going to, you got the API thing going, you got sharing of data. What's next on the agenda?
Yeah, so we announced to the industry, went out to the entire Spark board and solicited feedback. We were trying to figure out what would be the quickest lift that we could get, biggest bang for our buck right now. And it was pretty clear that loans distributions and balance API was really where we should start next. So I use this example with the Spark board. I've used it a few times with some other folks as well. To do a distribution when someone leaves or if there's a loan to be taken, what we have to do now is, as a TPA, we log into the record keeper site. We have to look at the account balance of the participant, break out the money sources. So if it's a distribution, how much is vested in each one of those money sources, and we bring that information into our system. Let's just assume that takes 3 minutes. Now, I think any TPA who's watching this is probably laughing, saying there's no way it only takes 3 minutes, right? So let's just say it takes 3 minutes and you do 10,000 distributions in a year. That's real time. That's real time. With an API, with a balance API, we'll have the balances in our system every single day. So that time it takes us to log into the system, we don't have to do that anymore. So having an API where we can feed that data into our system and then pull in the loan or distribution information, through an API and exchange it back securely to the record keeper to expedite the distribution is going to be an absolute game changer for all of us, for record keepers, partner vendors who perhaps do force out IRAs, all of us, TPAs, whoever's involved, it's going to be a significant lift for all of us.
Yeah, but ultimately benefiting the consumer, the participant. Tim, you just completed the public policy forum with your partnership with DECIA. We had a great conversation with you and Joe McCabe talking about the succession planning survey. We just finished a conversation with you and Joe Burt on APIs. What's coming down the pike for Spark?
There's
It's
a lot.
the next Joe show.
No, it should be. We should do the Joe show. Anyway, go ahead, Tim.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on. Jeff, we're working on continuing to implement Secure 2.0 changes like the Savers match and other things like that. We're getting ready for, as soon as we're finished with the public policy forum, we immediately turn around and we start getting ready for our November forum, which is all about the evolution that our industry is going through right now. And so there's a lot to be discussed on that front too. So we'll be back in touch with you on those as well.
Yeah, I know Marlene does a great job prepping that show. I certainly appreciate you and Joe coming on the program. Sounds like a lot of great work. And I think this is kind of inside baseball for those maybe that don't follow the retirement industry in depth. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's kind of a cool, we're all nerds, but there's so much going on. You've got the TCJA. Hopefully that's resolved by the time this show airs. Who knows? But lots going on, lots of positive things. Joe, Tim, great to see you both. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
As always,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Thank you so much.
And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place. Details, of course, at our website. And your subscription helps support all this great BRN content. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.